The 1987 Hambletonian on ESPN is brought to you by Brittany Farms, by Extra Strength Excedrin, the headache medicine from Bristol-Myers, and by Castleton, a tradition of excellence. In order to win the Hambletonian, a horse must certainly have the speed to be first under the wire. But to win the Hambletonian, they must have stamina because they must win 2 separate heats. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Johnson. Joining me on the program, Alan Kirschenbaum, Ellie Sarama, Stan Bergstein, and Tom Durkin will be calling the action. And this afternoon, we have heat racing for you from the Meadowlands. We start with 15 trotters split into 2 divisions of 8 and 7 respectively. Then we'll take the top 5 finishers from each and come back for the second heat. If one of the first 2 winners wins again, it's all over. If a third horse wins, then we'll go to a race-off with the 3 winners. It all promises to be a great afternoon of sport. And Stan Bergstein, just put this race in perspective in terms of the entire standardbred industry.
Well, many people call it the Kentucky Derby of harness racing, and in many ways it is. It's a 3-year-old classic. It's one of the legs of the Triple Crown, the other 2 being the Yonkers Futurity and the Kentucky Futurity, Yonkers Trot and the Kentucky Futurity, just as the Preakness and the Belmont are the other 2. And it certainly is a championship event for 3-year-olds, but there is another difference, and that's more stamina. The 3-year-old runners go 1.25 miles. These trotters have to go at least 2 miles and possibly 3. In one other event, they're very similar, and that is that it is the race that everyone in harness racing would most like to win, just as the Derby is the race everyone would like to win in thoroughbred racing.
And the horse that they're talking about having the best chance to get this afternoon's beautiful trophy and the more than $1 million in total purse money is Mack Lobell. Ellie Sarama, can he be beaten?
It's a horse race, Dave. Anything's really possible. The probability, highly unlikely. I think what we really should look for now is, can he set records? We'll be looking for a Hambletonian Stakes record, a world record, both records set by Practice and, of course, John Campbell driving. And like Stan had mentioned, the Triple Crown. Our sport hasn't had a trotting Triple Crown since 1972 when Super Bowl took home the honors. So I know that's what I'll be looking forward to.
And right now, let's go to the winner's circle, meet another member of our broadcast team with a special guest. Let's join Alan Kirschenbaum. And the 62nd edition Hambletonian. The field for the first division of the first heat ready to step on the racetrack for the post parade. There's number 1, Besieged. And the driver is almost as big a story as the horse. The driver is Ulf Thorsen.
Oh, I would have to say he's the main attraction, Dave, because first of all, he's the driver that won the Hambletonian last year aboard Nuclear Cosmos. Besieged draws the rail today with Ulf in the bike. He could be very dangerous, this horse. He was a winner of the division of the Beacon Course Trot at the Meadowlands, taking a lifetime mark of 156-1.
Followed onto the track by number 2, Skywatch Lobell. And the driver is Håkan Wallner, who's no stranger to good trotters or long shots, Ellie.
Oh, the Scandinavian connection is back. Jan Janssen, the trainer. This horse is coming into this race winless this year, racing mostly in the New York Sire Stakes competition. He faces a much tougher field of horses today.
And number 3 is Crown's Best with Per Eriksson. Crown's Best is a well-traveled colt. In fact, he's been to 8 tracks in his last 10 starts.
And in those 10 starts, he had 8 wins. He has over 200,000 this year made. He's another colt that campaigned mainly in the New York Sire Stakes circuit. He shows a lot of early speed, but he shows some difficulty competing against this group of trotters.
And there's number 4, Spotlight Lobell. And interestingly enough, this horse is from Team Nordine, and as successful as they've been with trotters, never a Hambletonian victory.
Well, this horse came from last in his previous start to finish second, trotting his mile in 156-2. A New Jersey Sire Stakes competitor has over 135,000 made this year, but he really has his work cut out for him in here.
Number 5 is Sir Taurus, who's coming out of the back paddock here, and that's Ben Webster in the bike, and Ben took the Hambletonian 3 years ago with Historic Freight.
And Benny's aboard a good horse right here. He holds the world record for 3-year-old trotters on a half-mile track, stopping the clock at 157-2 in a New York Sire Stakes race at Yonkers. And incidentally, Dave, he broke Mack Lobell's record at that track. He has impressive stats, 8 starts, 5 wins, and 3 seconds.
Well, here is number 6, Action Factor, Dave Rankin in the bike. And Possibly the biggest question mark in here. Mr. Rankin is certainly a fine horseman. He wouldn't be bringing this horse here if he didn't think he had a shot.
Well, he won the open trot last week at Vernon Downs in 58-3, but he draws post 6, and against this competition, it's a definite disadvantage.
Alan, I gotta go in shots very soon.
And talking about competition, here is the one they're all afraid of. It's Mack Lobell, and the most interesting thing about this is that John Campbell, the #1 guy in our sport, has said this is the best horse he's ever driven.
Well, this horse is undefeated this year, 4 for 4, put on a positively outrageous performance in last week's Beacon Course trot, equaling the all-age track record for trotters at the Meadowlands in 154 flat. He established a season's record for the 3-year-old trotting colts, winners of the Yonkers Trot. At that time, he set a world's record. The list goes on and on and on, Dave. How are they going to beat him?
Well, we don't know, but there are 7 in this race. You've seen them all. Now, here's Alan Kirschenbaum in the paddock to give us, well, a close-up look of the major contenders. Alan?
I bet you can't guess where the top contenders in this field starts. Listen to this idea. Take a horse sired by a moderately priced stallion, a moderately priced yearling, just a very moderately priced horse, and anything he's done on the track has been anything but moderate. His name is Mack Lobell, sired by Mystic Park. He is a phenomenal horse. He's shown here in his latest romp, eventually, which will be in last week's Beacon Course trot. He is starting to scare off the opposition. This field of 15, the smallest Hambletonian field since we've come to the Meadowlands. Here on the front end in the Beacon Course trot on July 24th, Mack was sent to the front early by John Campbell, and John Campbell, who's earned more purse money than any other driver in history, has named this horse the greatest horse he's ever driven. Mack's 4 1987 wins have been by open lengths, and barring a lightning bolt sent down by the gods of racing luck, there's no reason to think that any of the other 6 colts in the field today will be any bit closer than they were in the Beacon Course. There's Besieged, who's the most improved colt in the world of trotting. This son of Speedy Simoli had not won a race in his entire career until June 30th, when he broke his maiden in a cheap condition class right here at the Meadowlands. Since then, he's ripped off 2 straight stakes wins. Now take a look at that arrow. Napolitano's in the 2nd division. We'll talk about him later. But Besieged's 2nd stakes win was this charge in the Beacon Course trot, the other division. He's guided by Scandinavian driving legend Ulf Thorsen and trained by Scandinavian trainer Per Henriksen. They're the same 2 folks who teamed up to win last year's Hambletonian with Nuclear Cosmos. It's an excellent field. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
1 to 5 the price on Mack Lobell. We'll find out if he can do it. He's looking for his 5th straight victory of the year. Back with the 1st division of the 1st heat of the Hambletonian after this. We're back at the Meadowlands. Let's take a quick check of the odds as these 7 trotters get ready to come to the gate. Besieged is at 8 to 1. Skywatch Lobell 50. Crown's Best at 16. Spotlight Lobell 18. Sir TAURUS is the 2nd choice at 5 to 1. Action Factor is 45, and Mack Lobell 1 to 5. You put up 5 to win 1, you get 6 back. Stan, what are the roots of this race?
Actually, they go back to 3rd Avenue, New York. 140 years ago, it had macadam strip down the center for wagons, and road horses raced on the side. A banker had a fast trotting mare. She ran off, got crippled. He gave her to a butcher. The butcher sold her for $135, and she produced Hambletonian, the father of the breed.
And these fine horses, led by Mack Lobell, ready to try and join the illustrious group of 61 other Hambletonian winners. A beautiful afternoon. It's hot and sultry. The stakes record for the Hambletonian, 154-3. The world record might be in danger, 153-2. We go to the top of the stands, and the man who will call the racing action for you this afternoon, here's Tom Durkin.
And here they come for the 1st division of the 1st heat of the Hambletonian, and they're off. And Mack Lobell is out quickly for the lead from the outside, and Sir TAURUS is moving with him early, and Besieged is out fast toward the rail. Crown's Best has come away 4th, and he angles toward the inside. Skywatch Lobell has come away trotting in 5th position. Then farther back, it's Action Factor, and on the inside, Spotlight Lobell. The field rounds the 1st turn, and it's Sir TAURUS who's up for the lead. Mack Lobell was 3 wide in the early going, and John Campbell's looking for the lead with him now, and the opening quarter was quick, 27-4, and they move into the backstretch, and Mack Lobell powers up to take the lead now. Sir TAURUS is back to 2nd, and Besieged is in hand at this point. He's 3rd on the inside, with Crown's Best racing 1st over. Skywatch Lobell is now 5th toward the rail. Spotlight Lobell is racing 6th. Action Factor is the trailer as Mack Lobell dictates the pace as they move over to the half mile. Coming after him now is Crown's Best. Here's the half. 56-1. And the field heads for the far turn in the first division, and it is Mack Lobell leading the way. Crown's Best to pressure him for the outside. Just in behind them, Sir Taurus is racing in third position. Spotlight Lobell has moved to within 3 lengths of the lead. Besieged to save every bit of ground. He's just 3.5 lengths off the lead of Mack Lobell, who's coming to 3/4 with a 2-length lead. But here comes Spotlight Lobell with a 3-wide sweep as they turn for home. Sir Taurus is just in behind them. Besieged comes off the rail, and he's making his move now. The 3/4 mark was 1:26 flat, and it's Mack Lobell, the leader at the top of the stretch by 1.5 lengths. John Campbell driving him confidently with 1/8 of a mile to come. Spotlight Lobell is full out to try to get him. Then farther back, Besieged is racing third. On the inside, Sir Taurus is fourth. Mack Lobell impressive here, and he's pulling away with the field with complete authority. Mack Lobell has won it by 5 widening lengths, and the time was 1:54 flat. That is a Hambletonian record, and it ties the track record. A sensational move there by Mack Lobell, and he did it with such incredible ease. John Campbell driving him confidently all the way down the lane. He just crushed this field this afternoon in record equaling time. Indeed, it was the fastest Hambo ever. Dave Johnson, back to you.
It happened just the way they expected, and sizzling home in 1 minute and 54 seconds. John Campbell never taking the whip out. Let's watch the stretch drive again as Mack Lobell fulfills his promise here, winning his 5th straight victory here in 1987.
Number 4.
Mack Lobell on the lead as they turned for home. On the outside, it's Crown's Best, the 3-horse with Per Eriksson, not able to close the gap. Mack Lobell, the quarter in 27-4, 56-1 for the half, 3/4 in 1:26, and coming home effortlessly in 1 minute and 54 seconds, a new stakes record for the Hambletonian. We'll be back with more after this brief timeout.
A home run.
We're back, and it's official. Mack Lobell pays $220, $220, and $210. Spotlight Lobell, $480, $210. Besieged, $2.10 to show, and I'll bet there was a minus show pool on this one. Mack Lobell coming home, the easiest kind of winner. Let's go to Alan Kirschenbaum in the winner's circle.
I had a feeling we might be talking to this guy sometime during the show tonight. John Campbell, Mack looked absolutely sensational. Were you pleased with his performance?
Yeah, he raced real well. It's a tough heat for him when he's got to come back, but he did go a real good race.
You sent him to the front early, which you had to do really in that field. Did you think you'd have to work real hard to get there?
Yeah, I knew there would be a lot of early speed on the inside, and I wasn't surprised they went that much and that it took them that long to make the front.
One thing I was a little surprised about was the challenges that came throughout the mile. Crown's Best ranged up to put the first move challenge on you. Did you expect them to come that early?
Well, I thought somebody would. He was unlucky. He just didn't find a hole in the first turn, and he had no alternative but to try and, move up to the front. And anytime you're racing in the Hambletonian, you got to expect challenges.
As you turn for home right here, comfortable, it looks as if another challenge might be coming in the horse of Spotlight Lobell. Are you nervous at all here? Does your horse feel just as good as he looks?
No, he felt real good. I was confident he was going to win at the head of the stretch. He felt real strong.
How much do you think is left in the tank for the second heat?
Well, I hope we don't have to go as much next heat. I'd rather go slower and be easier on him in the long run.
Congratulations, John. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
Well, Ellie, we've talked a lot about Mack Lobell already, but what about the other horses in this race?
There was about 3 horses that took shots at him. Crown's Best was first over. Spotlight Lobell pulled 3 deep, couldn't get anywhere. Sir Taurus was in the pocket, tried his charge. Nobody could get close to the horse. He just drew off by many lengths.
And the horse that drew off by many lengths, did it surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me at all. It was a question of how far Campbell... When they turned for home, Campbell looked over, just was rating him, and then just eased him through the stretch. What did surprise me is that he broke after the wire. I've never seen him do that. I noticed that Campbell looked down to see if there was anything wrong, and apparently there was nothing we missed. But neither his margin nor his miles surprised me. If anything, it surprised me he didn't go faster than he did, because I know he's capable of it.
He certainly proved a lot already in the first division of the first heat, and we'll be back with the second division of the first heat. We'll be watching more great trotting action from the Meadowlands after these important messages. Stay with us.
Castle.
Well, let's wrap up a few of the loose ends from the first division of the first heat. Here they are, top to bottom. In the official order of finish, Mack Lobell, as you saw, the impressive winner, followed under the wire by the fast-closing Spotlight Lobell. Besieged held third. Skywatch Lobell was fourth. Action Factor finished fifth. Sir TAURUS was sixth. And Crown's Best faded to seventh. And remember that the top 5 come back for the second heat of the Hambletonian a bit later this afternoon. Now, on to the second division of the first heat and the morning line. We have Crown Sweep starting at 15-1 with Carl Allen. Napolitano at 9-5 with Bill O'Donnell. Classic Jazz is at 12-1. Go Get Lost, 4-1 with John Hogan. Waikiki Beach is at 6 with Jim Doherty. BUCKFINDER at 2 with Ronnie Waples. C. Louis Lomont at 15 with Jan Nordin. And Cotton Hanover, 20-1 with Dick Richardson Jr. in the bike. And they're moving on to the track for this, the 6th race of the Meadowlands card in the second division of the first heat. And here is number 1, Crown Sweep, who seems to be all or nothing at all. Never second or third. He seems to win or do nothing. What about this one, Ellie?
He did win a 3-year-old open trot here at the Meadowlands last week. He has over 102,000 made. He draws the rail, and that always helps a lot, Dave.
And following on to the racetrack, number 2, Napolitano. Napolitano, the bad luck horse in this field. Bill O'Donnell drives as he did last time. He was boxed in, just nowhere to go. I guess he's looking for some better luck today.
Well, he did finish third in that race. The Houghton stable is sending this colt into the race in peak form. He has 10 starts this year, and all 10 he was on the board, first, second, and third.
Classic Jazz ready to move on to the racetrack. And Ellie, this is the biggest question mark in the field for me. This horse took the Montreal trot, but has been off the board in the other 9 races.
Well, it is quite rare to win a $186,000 race and then be off the board in the rest of your starts. But the McNichol and Caroluzzi team, they had plenty of great trotters, but this horse here faces some awful stiff competition.
Number 4 is Go Get Lost, a versatile and certainly durable sort. He has kept his form since he started really in the winter and just come on right through 19 straight races with lots and lots of money paychecks.
He has 11 wins out of those 19 starts, Dave. He's a New Jersey Sire Stakes winner. He made a break out of the gate 2 weeks ago against Mack, recovered and still finished 4th. I don't think you can overlook this horse.
And remembering the victory that we just saw of Mack Lobell, here is the last horse to defeat Mack Lobell. It's Waikiki Beach, and Jim Doherty drives.
That was his biggest claim to fame, beating his stablemate. He has over 200,000 made life, but his form hasn't been quite as good as when he was a 2-year-old. He's just not quite the same as a 3-year-old.
And BUCKFINDER is certainly developing into a fine racehorse. He turned in his fastest mile ever last time out in the Beacon course, but didn't win the race. Here is BUCKFINDER with Ron Waples.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest question in my mind still is, can he beat Mack? It was a question last year as 2-year-olds. Now this year he was locked in against him, and he never shook loose. He finished third. He appears to be at his best, and I think he's the horse to beat in this division.
And Ron Waples is at his best. He took the Breeders' Crown last night with Sugarcane Hanover. Here is C. Louis Lomont, 10 racetracks in his last 11 races. The well-traveled colt driven by Jan Nordin.
Well, you know, speaking of well-traveled, back in June, this colt was parked the whole mile in a stakes event at Scioto Downs, winning in 57-4. He just doesn't seem to be as good since then. He draws outside, and he's going to need an awful lot of racing luck in here.
And a horse who's drawn bad post positions in his last several starts, Cotton Hanover, again on the outside, Dick Richardson Jr. in the bike.
His recent form against this caliber really hasn't been that bad, but you know, Dave, when you draw the A-hole, you're really at a big disadvantage when the horses you have to beat are inside of you.
So that's the entire field for this second division of the first heat. No Mack Lobell in here, but let's zero in on the major contenders. Here's Alan Kirschenbaum.
There is no Mack Lobell in here, and that means we're going to have a much more competitive race in this field of 8 trotters. Napolitano, a son of Super Bowl, has impressed Billy O'Donnell greatly after he drove him only once, and that's enough to impress me. He seems to be at the top of his form, full of trot, as you saw from that videotape where he was locked in along the rail and never shook loose. He's a top contender, and so is BUCKFINDER, who picks up Ron Waples, who won last night's Breeders' Crown with Sugarcane Hanover. This game, classy son also of Super Bowl, field, has spent a long time in Mack's shadow and should relish his absence in this division. In the historic Cup back on June 26, old Bucky, he was a lean, mean trotting machine, rarely makes a mistake and always gives his all. He is trained in the Team Nordine stable, who are really trying to win their first Hambletonian since coming to America earlier in the 1980s. In only 2 years, Go Get Lost has been sold 3 times, and his price has escalated sharply each time. A pint-sized $10,000 yearling, he's earned $211,000 this year, second only to Mack Lobell. He shocked an international assemblage of older world-class trotters in winning the Statue of Liberty, passing them all right here on the far outside in the long Meadowlands stretch. He's another hard trier, very versatile. He is guided by John Hogan, a very underrated reinsman from New England, and he also stands a very good chance in this second division of the first heat of the Hambletonian. I think you'll see a very, very competitive race, and I think you'll see BUCKFINDER win this one. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
Not only is it a big day for 3-year-old trotters, it is a big day for the 3-year-old humans in the park area over here. Everybody trying to pick a winner of the Hambletonian. We'll be back with more after this. Well, as this octet of 3-year-old trotters gets ready to go the mile in the second division of the first heat, a quick check of the odds board shows that Crown Sweep is at 70-1, one of the 2 real long shots in this contest. Napolitano, who is getting bet down heavily in the final minutes before post, is at 6-5. Classic Jazz is up to 45. Go Get Lost is 2.5-1. Waikiki Beach holds at 6. The second choice in the crowd of about 25,000 here this afternoon is BUCKFINDER at 9-5, and then 2 long shots on the outside. C. Louis Lomont from post 7, and on the far outside, Cotton Hanover at 60-1. Stan, for the longest time, we had 4 horses who were right there at 5-2. They couldn't decide who to make the favorite.
Well, it's decided on Napolitano, but it's interesting because a year ago, of the 8 horses in this particular race, Napolitano won less money than the other 7. BUCKFINDER, on the other hand, was for a while the world's fastest 2-year-old trotter last year. And he, of course, has not come back to the form of then, although he has earned $108,000. Go Get Lost, who's won $211,000, earned most of it racing older horses, won the Statue of Liberty here at the Meadowlands against the best from Europe, and in doing so engendered some second-guessing from horsemen who wondered whether it was smart to race a horse against older horses than 3-year-olds early in the year when you were hoping for the Hambletonian. The answer to their question, of course, will be forthcoming in just a few moments.
Some interesting human stories here, too. Driving Cotton Hanover on the far outside is Dick Richardson, Jr., and he certainly knows about upsets. He was driving Marauder when Annihilator was defeated by Dick Richardson, Jr. in the Adios.
He's a good trotting trainer, too. And an interesting story, of course, Chuck Sylvester, who trains Mack Lobell, also trains Waikiki Beach. And Waikiki Beach, I believe, might have been the only horse to beat Mack Lobell when that horse stayed flat last year.
And as the trotters are called to the gate, we're going to get ready to go up to the track announcer here at the Meadowlands, Tom Durkin, for the call of the 6th race on the card and the second division of the first heat. Tom?
Thank you, Dave. Well, the big 3 to watch here, Napolitano, who is the favorite as they come to the starting line, Go Get Lost and BUCKFINDER. Here they come, and we have a breaker here. Crown Sweep is off stride, but it will not be a recall. He broke after the recall point. And they're off, and Crown Sweep is on a break as the field moves for the first turn, and Cotton Hanover, with a quick early move, angles over to the inside to grab the rail and the early lead. Napolitano gets the pocket early, and Go Get Lost is now parked out 3rd. At the inside, Classic Jazz is now trotting 4th, a gap of 4 to Waikiki Beach, and then it's BUCKFINDER, C. Louis Lomont, and the early breaker, Crown Sweep, and he's still off stride. They're moving over to the quarter with Cotton Hanover.
We are experiencing technical difficulties with the sound portion of this program. Please stand by while adjustments are made.
It's official, and the winning price is Napolitano, $5, $3.80 and $2.60, and he paced the mile in 1:56 and 2, 1:56 and 2, not 1:58 and 2, as I said. Cotton Hanover, 28:40 and 5:60 to show, and Waikiki Beach finished third, $3.40 for the show spot. Well, form certainly is holding this afternoon. The leading drivers of the meet, Campbell and O'Donnell. Campbell took the first division, and in the winner's circle now, here's, well, first of all, let's check the official order of finish, top to bottom. Napolitano, Cotton Hanover second, Waikiki Beach third, Go Get Lost was fourth, C. Louis Lomont fifth, Classic Jazz sixth, BUCKFINDER was seventh, and Crown Sweep finished eighth. The top five come back for the finale, or at least for the next heat. And let's go to the winner's circle now, and Bill O'Donnell with Alan Kirschenbaum.
Like you said, Dave, you expect when you do two interviews here at the Meadowlands to do one with John Campbell, one with Billy O'Donnell. Billy, you only drove Napolitano in his last race for the first time. Did you expect him to be a dominating sort of trotter?
Well, in with that field there, I did. The night I drove him, I got locked in the whole way, and I never got out until real late, and he was full of trotting. That was a good, easy race to bring him into this race. You know, it was only 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I hoped he would anyway.
We're going to look at a replay of the race, Billy. Maybe you'll talk it through. We'll pick it up right when you made your move to the top with Napolitano. Didn't want to sit on the inside any longer?
Well, no, you know, Dick Richards went out there fast with Cotton Hanover and got the front, and John Hogan kept working his way up to the front, and he'd been used, you know, quite a ways past the quarter, so I just slipped out, and, you know, hopefully he was looking for cover. And then from there on, I kind of got it, you know, shut down pretty good. The third quarter, 30 seconds at a piece, and the last one, 28 and 1, and he was really strong.
Even though there was quite a bit of movement through that middle half, the fractions were kind of soft. Were you surprised at that?
Yes, I was, kind of. But, you know, the two best horses at that point were up close, you know. And, you know, when you get a race like that, there's, you know, the long shots are not really coming at you because they're just going to tire themselves out.
You've driven BUCKFINDER enough to know that he usually has a real good late kick. Did you ever have any thoughts to the fact that he might be coming at the end of the mile?
Well, I never really thought of it. My horse felt good and, you know, was full of trot at the head of the stretch, and I spoke to him on, and, you know, he trotted good, strong, right straight through the wire.
You certainly saw Go Get Lost race a bit here at the Meadowlands earlier in the year, and he's tailing you pretty closely. Do you sense that he's a strong horse at this point, or not so strong?
No, I think he felt pretty good, you know, out there. We weren't going much right there, and then right there at the head of the stretch, I just kind of spoke to mine on, and, you know, he just couldn't keep up with him.
He trotted home in 28 and 1. Napolitano did, just a tick slower than Mack Lobell trotted his final quarter. Do you think you're trying to reserve anything here for the second heat at this point?
Oh, yeah, no question. You know, 56 and 2 or whatever it was, or 1 is, you know, today with the hot weather and the track is really fast. It's not what you call a real blazing mile. And even Mack Lobell 54, he did it with ease, you know. So, you know, both of them are coming back into the final fresh.
We'll see if you can beat Mack Lobell in the final. Good luck. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
And a question for Ellie Sarama. Ellie, any surprises?
Well, I was surprised when John Hogan pulled out of the two-hole with Go Get Lost, but I think at that point Billy O'Donnell and Napolitano were backing the third quarter down a soft fraction of 30 and 2. Maybe John Hogan had a little bit of trouble because the horse does show a lot of speed on paper. He pulled, they went head and head, but Billy O'Donnell got the best of him.
And speaking of Billy O'Donnell, quite a driver.
Well, he is, of course, and so is Campbell. The two of them dominate racing here at the Meadowlands, and dominating racing gives you the prerogative of performance. You can pick who you want. And last year, O'Donnell was offered Mack Lobell by Lou Gaida as a mount. At that time, BUCKFINDER and Ditka Hanover were both able to master him, and he chose BUCKFINDER. Now, he's been driving BUCKFINDER, but after he drove him and saw Napolitano, he chose Napolitano. So when you're as good as O'Donnell or Campbell, you take who you want to take the drive. They, incidentally, unlike the jockeys, do not have agents, so they make their own choices as to who they want.
Well, it certainly is leading up to a great finale this afternoon. And the Hambletonian story will continue, but first a look back at last night. The filly counterpart to the Hambletonian, the 3-year-old fillies on the trot in the Hambletonian Oaks. Here's what happened. It turned out to be a race-off because Armbro Fling won one of the heats, facing 11 other trotting fillies. Armbro Fling, driven by 54-year-old George Schulte, came home in 1:56. And winner of the other division, or the other heat, was Sizzling Charm, driven by Harold Kelly in 56 and 3. So the two of them met, and here's what happened from the top of the stretch home.
136 and 1, and at the top of the lane, Armbro Fling is the leader, and now Harold Kelly makes his move with Sizzling Charm, and now they're in earnest with an 1/8 of a mile to come. Armbro Fling is kicking in and pulling away now. It is Armbro Fling there by 3 lengths. Sizzling Charm will not be able to get to her as they come down to the wire. It's going to be Armbro Fling. George Schulte has it here, winning it by 2.5 lengths. The final time was 2:04 and 1, and Sizzling Charm was second.
Armbro Fling, a daughter of Speedy Crown, comes home in 2 minutes 4 and 1/5 seconds and takes the Hambletonian Oaks, its 17th edition here in 1987 at the Meadowlands. And in the winner's circle, on the right, that's Andy Grant, the president of the Hambletonian Society, presenting the trophy to Charles Armstrong in the light coat on the left. Congratulations. Now, will Mack Lobell end it all and make his dream come true? We'll be back with the second. They're all after this, 10 of them coming back for the finale. Or at least we think it will be the second heat of the Hambletonian. Let's take a look at the post positions which were drawn for this second heat. And we're also looking at current odds. Now, in determining the post positions, the 2 first-place finishers from the first divisions, Divisions 1 and 2 of the first heat, drew for post positions 1 and 2. And you can see that Napolitano drew the rail and Mack Lobell post 2, and then the 2 second-place finishers drew for post positions 3 and 4, and so on down the line. And Stan, let's talk about the 2 winners.
Well, the 2 winners are 2 different horses entirely, and I don't even think that they're close as far as that goes, as the time would indicate. There's Mack Lobell, who really it's an internal issue. If his feet sting him enough to make a mistake, which everyone hopes that it does not happen, a mistake on his part as far as a gate mistake could cost him the race, of course, in the Hambletonian. That's not likely to happen. As far as anyone beating him, Napolitano is what they call in the trade a nice horse. A nice horse means you're a good horse, but you're not a classic horse, which Mack Lobell is. I think that he stands in a class by himself. A great horseman like Howard Beisinger said, who had Speedy Crown, incidentally, said, I think this is the best horse I've ever seen. At least 10 other top horsemen have said that. I'll take their word for it.
Well, we have a field of 10, though, and Ellie Sarama, any of the other 8 horses who are not winners of one of the divisions of the first heat, do you think they might surprise and cause a race-off?
I seriously doubt it. But Team Nordine sending Spotlight Lobell into the race. And the Nordines are always a stable to be feared of, I'm sure, because they're, they've been in the business and they've had champions. And Spotlight Lobell went a very big trip in the first race. He was 3 wide in the last turn. He finished second to Mack Lobell, but I don't think he can beat him.
Now remember, if Mack Lobell or Napolitano win this next heat, it's all over. If somebody else wins it, well, then we'll have a race-off. Now to get Alan's thoughts and more on the Mack Lobell story, let's go to the winner's circle.
Thank you, Dave. I'm joined by Chuck Sylvester here in the winner's circle. Chuck Sylvester, the trainer of Mack Lobell. Chuck, you made an equipment change in the paddock in between heats. Tell us what it was and why you felt it was needed.
Well, it's a real hot day, and the track was just a little hard. John felt the horse's feet were stinging him just a little. So we decided to put a set of full pads on. He's had them on before, and I don't think it'll be a problem. They're having a hard time keeping us a cushion on the track today because of the weather, so I think it'll be fine the next heat now.
Those pads go in between a horse's shoes and a horse's hooves to cushion the shock of the impact of the track. What do you think the horse will do in the final heat today?
Well, I hope he wins, naturally. As far as time, I don't know. He had a real tough first trip. We were hoping we wouldn't have to go that hard or that fast. He got parked quite 2 or 3 deep around the first turn, and he raced well, but I hope he doesn't have to go that hard to win.
I tend to agree. I think Mack Lobell's going to win the Hambletonian. Best of luck, Chuck. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
Well, the big crowd here at the Meadowlands thinks that Mack Lobell is going to end it all right here with a victory in his second heat of the afternoon. He's 1-9 on the tote board, and the only other horse who could stop the Hambletonian competition and be the champ is Napolitano. He's 6-1. Ellie, is there a race strategy for John Campbell and Mack Lobell?
I think at this point in time, Dave, there's only one strategy. Go to the front. When you're the best, you don't want to be involved in any traffic. Be on the front end.
The last time this horse was in heat racing, it was at Vernon Downs in the Founders Gold Cup. He was scratched out of the second heat. Stan, you were there. Why was he scratched?
That was prudent trainer-owner management. They just didn't want to go 2 trips with him that day. The race was $160,000. This one is $1 million. They had the Beacon course coming up intervening, which he won, and now this race. I think it was a wise decision on their part, Dave.
And now it's time for the call of the second heat of the Hambletonian. We go to the top of the stands and track announcer Tom Durkin. Tom?
For the second and perhaps deciding heat of the Hambletonian 1987, and they're off, and Waikiki Beach leaves quickly. And Mack Lobell now takes the lead as the field moves into the turn, and Napolitano has the pocket early. Waikiki Beach is parked out third into the turn, and Cotton Hanover has come away trotting fourth. A gap of 3 back to Besieged on the outside. Toward the inside, it's Spotlight Lobell, who is now racing in 6th position. On the outside, Action Factor is now racing 7th, followed by Skywatch Lobell. Then far in the back, Go Get Lost and C. Louis Lomont. The first quarter, 27 4/5 seconds, and the pressure coming to Mack Lobell now from the outside. Waikiki Beach coming right after him. Waikiki Beach and Mack Lobell, they hook up in a speed duel down the backstretch, and Napolitano is stalking them. Third, then a gap of 3 lengths on the inside. It's Cotton Hanover racing in 4th, and alongside him Besieged is 5th. And here's the half mile. 55 3/5 seconds of blazing pace as the field moves into the turn, and it's still Mack Lobell holding on to the lead. Waikiki Beach still pressuring him from the outside. Napolitano, a perfect trip so far. He's just in behind the dueling leaders in 3rd position, and Besieged is poised on the outside, now racing 4th. Go Get Lost is coming 3 wide in his bid for the lead now. Waikiki Beach has gone on a break, and that leaves Mack Lobell with a 3-length lead as they come to 3/4. Here's that time, 1:25 3. At the top of the lane, it's Mack Lobell, the leader in the Hambletonian by 3 lengths. And Napolitano is trying to catch him as they come into the final 8th, and the others are far back. It's Mack Lobell, and he's pouring it on. Mack Lobell in front now by 4 or 5. Napolitano is never going to catch him. The others are far back. Here is a brilliant trotter and a brilliant performance. Mack Lobell has won the Hambletonian in 1:53 3, a sensational time, a new record.
And Mack Lobell further emphasizes his greatness. A 1/5 of a second off the world record, and he earned his Hambletonian from start to finish. It was Napolitano that had it all his own way, and for Mack Lobell, no lucky trip. In fact, no luck at all, just power and speed and balance and beauty. In fact, these 2 heats this afternoon, 1:54 and 1:53 3 here in the second heat, the 2 fastest heats in the history of the sport. And watch here as John Campbell takes his first Hambletonian with this horse of greatness, Mack Lobell, and the dream comes true this afternoon for those around this great trotter. Mack Lobell, the winner of the 1987 Hambletonian. And we'll be back with more from the Meadowlands after these messages.
Medical news.
We're back at the Meadowlands where Mack Lobell, in the central moment of his racing career, has decimated his competition with a show of acceleration unequaled, not just here at the Meadowlands, but in the history of racing, one horse against another. Let's take a look at the official prices of the Hambletonian. Mack Lobell pays $220, $210, and $210. Napolitano, $240, $210. Spotlight Lobell, third, $2.10 to show. And in the official order of finish, top to bottom, we had Go Get Lost finishing 4th. Cotton Hanover was 5th. Besieged was 6th. Skywatch Lobell 7th. Action Factor 8th. C. Louis Lomont. And Waikiki Beach was 10th. And now to the winner's circle, and our colleague Alan Kirschenbaum with a happy guy.
I'm standing here with John Campbell, who has just won the 1987 Hambletonian with Mack Lobell. John, did you learn anything else about Mack Lobell that you didn't know before?
He's even better than I thought he was. He wasn't himself today. His feet are stinging him a little bit, and he still won a tremendous race. He just showed how much grit he has, because he definitely wasn't as sound. His feet were stinging him as he's been.
Chuck Sylvester told us between heats that you suggested an equipment change for Mack Lobell to put pads in between his shoes. John Campbell getting a kiss from wife Paula. Do you think that helped him in the second heat?
Definitely. It was Chucky's decision to put them in. He thought of the full pads, and it definitely helped him. He was much better. Just till the last little bit, they just got stinging him so much he went off straight at the wire. But it definitely made a big difference in him. It was a good decision.
Okay, John, we're going to go to the replay right now and take a look at Mack Lobell. You sent him to the front early, and the challenges were very quick in coming. Did you expect them to come at you that early?
Well, I was hoping that they'd find holes, anybody that did left, and unfortunately for me, they didn't. I didn't want to let Waikiki Beach go, because I thought Billy would come tip back out, and he'd be in front, and I'd have me sit in third, and he'd be in control.
I know you said before the heat that you were hoping you didn't have to use Mack as hard in the second heat. You certainly had to use him even harder.
Even harder. He was much better the second heat. Chuck put the full pads on him, and the track wasn't quite as hard, and it made a big difference to him. He felt real safe until just the last little bit, but he turned in a tremendous performance.
Did you expect Napolitano to give you maybe a little bit of more of a tussle at the end of the mile?
Well, I really didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. He had got an easier first heat than I did, so I really didn't know what to expect. Mack felt real good at the head of the stretch, so I asked him to trot, and I was hoping to open up enough daylight that he wouldn't be able to catch him.
You've won almost every other classic race in the sport, but the Hambletonian eluded you to this year. How does it feel?
It's a great feeling. I think it's my biggest thrill. Just from the horse's standpoint, what a performance he put in. It just shows his grit.
You said before the race he's the best horse you ever driven. Do you feel any differently now?
I just feel that he's more than ever that he's the best horse I've ever driven. He just proved it, and he overcome something that all great horses have to win in when they're not 100%.
Also in the winner's circle with me is Lou Guida, the principal owner of the One More Time stable. Lou, you've been associated mainly with great pacers over the year. How does it feel to have a great trotter like Mack Lobell?
Unbelievable. It's an unbelievable feeling.
There's probably very few owners who've won as many big races in the sport as you have. Does it ever start to wear off, the thrill of winning a great race?
I don't know if it starts to wear off, but after winning the Hambletonian, I begin to think I'm not going to push my luck too much further. But we've had a great season. I've enjoyed it very much. Chuck's did a great job, and John is just a master at driving. And the horse did a lot himself, too.
Congratulations to both Lou Guida, John Campbell, trainer Chuck Sylvester, and to Mack Lobell, a great winner of the Hambletonian. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
And can you imagine? He did it, and he wasn't even 100%. Ellie, at the beginning of the show, you said you were looking for records. Did you find enough?
Oh, I found exactly what I wanted to see. He established 2 stake records, won the second leg of the Trotting Triple Crown, and he did it